Hello there and welcome to Beyond the Limit with me, Muthoni Minor. On this episode, we will be discussing majorly on matters that deal with children with autism and also with many other conditions as well. Karibu sana. Do briefly introduce yourself to us.
Thank you, Ms. Muthoni. My name is Edward Mwakiria, a school principal at Nairobi Early Intervention Center. And I'm also a special needs teacher. Amazing.
So do take us through the integral process of the intake of children here with autism. Is it done annually or how do you get to do it?
Thank you. For enrollment of learners with special needs, especially autism, you find it starts after the diagnosis. And for most parents, they normally notice some delays with the learners or their children. You may realize your child has gotten to the age of speaking. They're not able to utter a word. Other times they're supposed to be walking, and at that point you notice still they're not even able to sit. So at this point, most parents will find themselves getting to the hospitals for more assistance. And with the help of the now doctors like neurologists, they're able to get us. And upon a diagnosis, for instance, with autism, now such parents are referred to institutions like ours. Once they come, we still conduct what we call school functional assessment, as that we're able also to ascertain in terms of education what interventions does the child require. So we start with the placement or school function assessment, which takes 5 days. The 5 days are supposed to allow us, good 5 days, because this is going to entail assessment of occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, speech and language therapist, as well as the special needs teachers. So within the 5 days, we are able to identify the actual delayed milestone that the child has, and then develop a program for every child. So as we admit this child, already we have identified the gaps. We put a plan that now each of these professionals work on implementing at the end. And then at the end of the day, we're able to review on timely basis.
Great. But still in regards to that, most parents nowadays, they're busy hustling here and there, and they get to miss out on those stages that you have mentioned. So is that rather wanting from the parents?
Okay. For parents, I can say to some, it's an answer for them to be able to meet the cost of educating a child with a special need. And as a school, what we do is to ensure we give flexible payment installments for parents, so that at the end of the day we can create a room for every parent, despite your economic status, to be able to access education for your child with the special needs.
So are there parents that get to bring their kids but they're still living in denial? How do you get to handle such a parent?
Thank you. Denial is a common concern for most parents. However, we don't judge them because you find it's a process. Getting a diagnosis of something that you even don't know. Sometimes, like in our country, people are yet to understand what autism is, and they may relate it to witchcraft or curses, and as a result, they get psychologically affected. So whenever we encounter parents who are still in denial, we walk the journey with them. This is not the time to start giving them added information, but we just break the information for them. For instance, if it's a matter of delayed speech, you may just encourage this parent to start with the speech and language therapy. Then you walk the journey with them until now they are able to understand how their child is functioning, how their child get to understand and interpret the information, how they relate with the different environments. And then with time, this parent is able to understand that my child is able to function in a given way. And then they're also able to figure out how will be the future of this child be like. And that gives them hope, and they're able to accept the diagnosis of their child and move on with life.
Yeah, so in regards to that, awareness in the society about some of these cases, people do not know anything about them till they get to a point where they're affected. So what are some of the awareness methods that you as a school get to use, or rather, what should be done for the society to get to know that these cases are here and they're very much with us?
Thank you. As Nairobi Early Intervention Center, we have adopted one of the most recent models, that's virtual workshops. Every month, we ensure there's a virtual workshop so that we're able to reach out not only to the parents within the urban setup, we can reach to parents abroad, those who are in the up country, and also we're able to record such sessions and even share later on. Like last month, the month of May, we managed to have a virtual workshop where we were orienting parents on the curriculum. Parents have learned about the CBC curriculum, the international curriculum, but at the end of the day, they don't know how does my child fit in. So we are doing awareness on a monthly basis, targeting all parents of all types of special needs and disabilities, and also during the holidays. We do have a physical workshop here at the center, where again we invite all the parents to come interact with the different professionals and get to learn. More to this, we have partnered with Neurogen Hospital from India, where our professionals are learning the new scientific methods that are and interventions that are working for learners with special needs, and such information now we are able to share with the parents through this workshop. However, I can say much is needed, especially to the employers when it comes to awareness, employing people with disabilities. You find at school, sometimes we can train these young adults with special needs, but employers are afraid. How do I engage someone with special needs in my company and be able to give me results? So as Nairobi Early Intervention Center, I can say our next target in this awareness journey is actually the employers. So that now we're able to have a full transition where we're able to train, for instance, the vocational courses, and at the end of the day, we have employers who can absorb them.
So in regards to professionalism, the teachers involved, are they trained on how to deal with kids with special needs, and why is that necessary? Because I think the society needs to understand that when you get to take your child at a certain institution, you have to make sure that there are people who are well diverse with the situation and they can handle them really well.
Sure. For success of a child with special needs, I will say it's key that you work with the people who are trained. And as Nairobi Early Intervention Center, we are very keen on recruiting qualified professionals. For instance, all our teachers are people who have trained either undergraduate degree in special needs education or diploma in special needs education. Some have additional training like P1 training, the early childhood training. When it comes to our therapists, these are people who have undergone through, for instance, occupational therapy training from Kenya Medical School, KMTC. The same applies to the physiotherapist. The speech and language therapists, these are graduates who have gone for their masters in speech and language. So at the end of the day, all the professionals have been verified by our recruiting board to ensure these are people who meet the criteria. Why is this important? If you look at, for instance, regular schools where we don't have trained special needs teachers or the therapist, sometimes there is what you call attitudinal barriers. A child gets into class and this child is not able to read or write. Yeah. And the teacher, not to judge, but they're not able to understand, it might be that this child has some special needs that limit them from reading or writing. And as a result, these children sometimes are labeled foolish. No, these are fool. And at the end of the day, they kill the self-esteem of the students. So you find a child who was full of energy, just because the teacher did not understand why this child functions in a given way, they start dropping down. Their self-esteem goes down. And I have seen cases where actually these children have dropped out of the school. They say, I don't want to go back to school. And if the parents, they're not aware what's happening, we end up losing those children. Some run to the streets because they feel nobody's understanding them. So bringing in people who are trained in the area of special needs education helps accommodate these learners. And finally, when it comes to the curriculum, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, yes, they have developed the curriculum. For instance, the competency-based curriculum. But the curriculum has not been adapted. It is the special needs teachers who will adapt the curriculum to fit the needs of these learners. When you look at the international curriculum, the same. The original curriculum, it's not adapted. And therefore, you require someone who is specially trained to be able to adapt this curriculum to address the needs of this child who has a special need.
Great. So in regards to that matter, have you dealt with a case of a child that was, felt a little bit, let me put this, demoralized in a normal public learning institution, and they were brought here? How do you deal with such a case to show this child that you're just able differently but in an amazing way?
Thank you. Yeah, we have had such cases. And the recent case of a child who were actually in cerebral palsy, who needed full support from walking, feeding, and this child managed to sit for KCPE. What happened is, as I said earlier, you find these children sometimes they lack an environment that is able to accommodate them, an environment that is able to understand why I function in a given way. So when they come to our environment, what we first do is to show them the love, that you're in a safe environment where everybody understands you, where everybody believes in your potential. So, for instance, this student comes in, we assess and we say, cognitive-wise, this child is doing well, despite not being able to walk or maybe to speak verbally the way you would expect, but their cognitive function, it's doing well. So we capitalize on that. So we will pull you around with the wheelchair, we will feed you, we will wash you, we will do all that, but we know your strength is on your brain. So we were able to offer individualized education for this child, have one-on-one session with this child. And at the end of the day, they were registered for the KCPE and they managed to score over 100 marks. And that gives them the fact that this child has gotten that primary certificate. It's a milestone.
It is. Guys, we will be right back. Now it's time to take a very short break, and we'll be right back with Edward, and he'll get to tell us more about that cognitive, you've called it cognitive function. Do keep it right here.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe. Welcome back to Beyond the Limit. Now, before we took a short break, we were talking about the cognitive function. So you did have a student, and they go to get the KCPE certificate. So what happens right after that? Is the society accommodative of them? What's the process afterwards?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can say the society is accommodative, but again, it depends with your location. For instance, you find in the urban setup, the awareness is well, and people are not like, look at this person who has special need. They get to relate and accommodate them, even when you go to church with such a child. Unlike in now up country where we have seen cases of people think this a cursed person, or the parents might have done something wrong. Yeah. That's why they have this type of child. So what happens currently, like from Nairobi Early Intervention Center, one thing, this child who is doing well cognitive-wise, but they need support for them to transition to the next level, which is, for instance, high school. Well, they will need an high school that has a learning support system. So learning support system, it's where you find a school has employed 1 or 2 special needs teachers in the mainstream, or what we refer to as regular school. When this child with the special needs steps in their school, they can be able to have pull-out programs where this child can be supported on their weak areas. Now, the only challenge we have, I will say, in our education system, especially our public schools, we haven't gotten such system of having like learning support. So you find transitioning a child with the special needs from an integrated school, for instance, to a mainstream school becomes a challenge, because this child needs some extra support to cope with the curriculum. And therefore, if there's no that special needs teacher who will offer the accommodation to this child, most likely they're not able to register 100% transition. And that's why most parents of children with the special needs are opting for homeschooling, are opting for international curriculum instead of the local curriculum. But now, as Nairobi Early Intervention, we have factored in and realized we have a number of primary schools that are transitioning these learners almost every year. But the success rate is almost at 0, because you get the community, they end up back in the house. I have done a course in ICT, but I go back and stay in the house because I'm not able to fit in any other environment. So we are doing what we call end-to-end services, such that from early intervention, we are going to intervene with different therapists to help this child achieve the delayed milestone. Then from there, we walk the journey. We adapt the regular curriculum for the learners who are high functioning. Then from there, we teach them, register them for examinations, get their certificates, but go an extra mile. Approach companies, approach industries that have the potential to employ them. For instance, we're doing vocational training. Today, if I train a child on how to cook, how many hospitality industry or restaurants are ready to absorb?
So many.
So you find at the end of the day, we as the institution, we have to approach such institutions, talk to the institution managers or the directors, and show them the importance of accommodating these learners. Secondly, we're doing the vice versa. We come to your company. Let's say you have a company that does packaging. So we'll visit you, look at how you're doing the packaging. We'll come with the learners who we are training, the ones who have special needs. They'll see the process. Then we go and do a prototype of your company in our institution. We'll come, have maybe dummies of things that we can be able to package, and train these learners the same skill that the employees in your company are doing. Then from there, once they acquire the skill and master it, we bring them back to you as an employer so that you can give them that opportunity. So this allows us at the same time to train them on how to manage their finances through a program we call entrepreneurship. So they start earning some income from this course they have learned, and then through this income, this does not mark the end. As teachers, we walk the journey. Now you need a bank account. You save your money. After saving money, you need money maybe to do your own shopping. You need money maybe to buy your airtime. So able to do that end to end, and already we have done with a few learners, and we can say it's the way to go. Not leaving these learners at an early age. Leaving them at an early age, they are still going to get stuck out there. So they need to be supported to a point they're being employed and they're able to run day-to-day activities.
So the institution has a boarding section. So how do you get to make sure that once the children maybe get to break, that they can go out there and intermingle with the other children out there and they still feel accommodated?
Thank you. Let me start first by highlighting the importance of us providing the boarding facility or services to learners with special needs. It's not to get them out of their homes, but you find because of the delayed milestone, they require more time to acquire skills, to acquire new ideas, and therefore learners who join the boarding, they have the benefit of extra time to learn. For instance, our lessons end at 4. So from 4, the learners who are in the boarding, they will go for a short break. Then after this break, they're able to go back and continue with their vocational training through the special needs teachers who are in charge of the programs. If, for instance, a child in the boarding has not mastered the basic activities of daily living, like bathing, let's talk about bed making, this is the best time to train them, because what happens at home, sometimes you find parents are in an area, or even the nannies, they want to have the child prepared very fast so that they don't get late. Unlike now, this child in the boarding, we're going to spend more time, train them how to bathe on themselves, train them how to make bed, and create that time for them to do the vocational skills and those who are doing studies to do them. When it comes to the social skills, we have a very flexible timetable that ensure at the end of the day, each and every learner has enough time to play with other children. Allow me just briefly to explain how our day looks like here at Nairobi Early Intervention Center. You find in the morning when the learners arrive, we start with brain gym exercises. The importance of the brain gym, the same way as the typical human being will go to the gym to keep fit, our brains also needs to be fit. Now, when these children with the special needs come to school, some of them have fed on the wrong diet, and that's when we say they have extra energy. Others will say they are hyper. You find you're not able to control this child. They're here, they are trying to jump. But now, with the brain gym exercises, you're able to help this child calm down, prepare them for the day's activities. So we do this up to 9:30 a.m. in the morning. The brain gym, there is scraping, a lot of activities to help the child prepare for the day's activities. Then we start now engaging them. It's a school, they have to be taught. So we introduce the pre-literacy, the pre-numeracy, where we teach learners about the numbers, the sounds, or to acquire reading skills. And at the same time, during this lesson, you give them what we call sensory breaks. Because for learners with autism, for instance, you find they are affected by different stimuli in an environment. It may be the light in that classroom that's affecting this child. It may be sound that you as a teacher, you may even not recognize there is a sound coming. It may be another child. Yeah. It may be the colors in the classroom. So when they process all this information or stimuli around their class, they experience something called sensory overload. And at that time, they lose concentration. So they'll start jumping, others will block their ears, others will just make some sounds. So at this point, as a teacher, you allow this child to have a sensory break so that they're able to get into a space they can listen to you and learn. So we're able to use our assistant teachers who walk with them out of the class, go to the therapy room. They are given 1 or 2 activities to do. They calm down, they come back and continue the learning. And the same process repeats throughout the day, such that this child is well attended and they are learning without being put into unnecessary pressure.
I haven't asked you one question. So
Yes.
what happens when a parent gets to bring their child, as time has gone by and let's say they're at the age of 10, 11 there, how do you get to deal with that?
Thank you. I know most parents know us as Nairobi Early Intervention Center, and they associate us with the young children only. But given that we cannot only offer interventions to the young children and then leave them at that point, we have in such cases, children who are already 18 years are coming into our school, and parent tell you, I have learned about you and I would like to be assistant. So what we've done, we have introduced the vocation program, whereby the 18 years old and above students, when they join us, we place them at pre-vocation level after the assessment. The purpose of placing them at the pre-voc level is to expose them to the different skills. So at this stage, you expose them to hairdressing, mechanic, ICT.
Yeah.
Once you expose them, now you start developing some pattern ideas. You're able to tell John likes ICT more than all these other things. Jane likes kitchen activities more than all these other things.
And how long does it take you to identify that this one likes ICT more than packaging or something else?
The time span may vary. There are those who are able to identify within a week, all my interest is on ICT. However, depending now with the level of functioning that this child is, there are some that you may take even 2 years. So, as we say, with the special needs education, it's individualized. You don't treat any child the same with other child. So we will deal with Kamau as Kamau.
Great.
We will deal with Ochieng as Ochieng.
Great. So as we get to wind up, maybe you could tell people where they could get to find you so that they can be able to bring their kids and feel that their kids are safe and that this is an institution that deals with professionalism and caters for the needs of the children.
Thank you. For the parents, guardians, caregivers who would like to have their children with the special needs, it might be autism, Down syndrome, learning difficulties, or even cerebral palsy, you can always pay us a visit. We are located at Abosel Gardens in Lavington. Once you visit us, we are going to ensure we give you all the information that you need. And we are open to the parents who might be in other institutions, but you say, maybe I would like to get a different feedback about my child. You can come, do an assessment with our group of professionals, and you'll be given a plan. What do I do with my child? So we are able to do such assessment even for the parents who are not coming to this institution. They are going to other institutions, but you're given a plan. Go and do 1, 2, 3 for your child, and then they're able to improve over time.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and for that amazing, wholesome conversation that we have had. Now, that's all that we've had for you here today on Beyond the Limit. Till next Saturday, I am Muthoni Maina. Sayonara.